The genius in disguise. You ever build a whole productivity system you never actually use? Color-coded planners, digital dashboards, 3 different apps that all remind you you're behind schedule? You're not lazy, you're an over-engineer. High-functioning overthinkers love designing perfect systems more than they love following them. The thrill isn't in the routine, it's in the architecture of it. You built the city. You just forgot to move in. And then there's procrastination. Your old frenemy. You've had 2 weeks to finish something, but your brain doesn't even clock in until the final countdown. You call it bad habits. Neuroscientists call it deadline-induced hyperfocus, which sounds way cooler. When pressure hits, your brain cuts the background noise and fires on all cylinders. That's why you suddenly turn into a creative superhero while everyone else is melting down. You're not lazy. You're just waiting for the right amount of chaos to summon your brilliance. And of course, the awkward social encounters. You rehearse your order 5 times before the barista says next. And then you panic and say, medium large, please. That's not social incompetence. That's your brain analyzing every possible outcome in real time. You're thinking, did I smile too much? Was that handshake weird? Should I have said you too after she said safe travels? Smart brains don't freeze, they buffer. You're not socially broken. You're just running on a processor that's a little too powerful for small talk. And then there's boredom, the silent alarm of a smart mind. You can't sit still through mind-numbing meetings or small talk without feeling your soul slowly leave your body. That's not impatience. It's cognitive starvation. Your mind needs complexity the way your body needs oxygen. While everyone else is fine cruising on autopilot, you're busy rewiring the plane mid-flight. You're not restless. You're just allergic to mediocrity. The midnight thinker. There's a strange kind of magic that happens between midnight and morning. The world exhales, and the noise fades. For some people, that's rest. For others, that's when the real thinking begins. It's 2 a.m. The world's asleep, but your brain just clocked in for the night shift. The house is silent, the air's still, and suddenly your mind starts acting like a caffeine-fueled think tank. It's the only time it gets real silence. No texts, no emails, no one asking, hey, got a minute? Just pure mental space. While everyone else is counting sheep, you're over here counting possibilities. That's when your thoughts start stretching their legs, wandering into places daylight never lets them go. Ideas connect out of nowhere. Random thoughts fuse into new ones, and suddenly you're 3 rabbit holes deep in brilliance that makes perfect sense. For now. And here's the kicker. Science actually agrees with you. Researchers say night owls often score higher in creativity, problem solving, and abstract reasoning. Your brain isn't broken, it's just nocturnal. When most people power down, yours lights up like a city that never sleeps. It's not insomnia. It's imagination refusing to clock out. Midnight is your brainstorming hour, your reset button, your secret creative hideout. You're not avoiding rest. You're in your element. It's when inspiration stops knocking politely and kicks the door open with both feet. So you tell yourself you'll go to bed after just one more thought. And somehow the sun's coming up, your phone's on 3%, and you've mentally solved world peace, moved the furniture around in your living room, and scripted an imaginary argument you definitely won. So the next time someone says, you should really go to bed, tell them, I can't. The night shift genius is on the clock. And honestly, the world should just be grateful you're keeping it turning while everyone else drools on their pillow. The overloaded mind. Your brain never really shuts up, does it? You replay conversations from 3 years ago, analyze things that didn't matter then and still don't now, and mentally plan for 25 possible futures, just in case. That's not anxiety. That's high-powered thinking on an outdated human processor. Smart brains don't like empty space. They fill it with questions, theories, and mental gymnastics no one asked for. You can't just accept something because that's how it's always been. You need to know why. Why does school start so early? Why do we clap to show approval? Why do hot dogs come in packs of 10 but buns in 8? That curiosity isn't rebellion. It's evolution. Your brain is allergic to blind routine. It refuses to download bad software just because everyone else did. And then there's talking to yourself. Before you panic, no, you're not losing it. You're thinking out loud. Psychologists call it externalized metacognition, which basically means your brain performs better when it can hear its own thoughts. Einstein did it. So do athletes before hitting impossible shots. You're not crazy. You're just running your own mental commentary track. The truth is, your mind doesn't know how to sit quietly. And maybe that's not a flaw at all. Maybe it's what happens when your thoughts are sprinting while the rest of the world is still lacing its shoes. The rule breaker. Rules are great, Until they make zero sense, you've probably noticed your brain doesn't just follow instructions. It interrogates them. Why are we doing it this way? Who decided this? And why hasn't anyone fixed it yet? That's not rebellion. That's intelligence refusing to take lazy answers. You aren't built to color inside the lines. You were built to ask who drew them in the first place. The truth is, your mind's like a mechanic. It can't resist taking apart the engine just to see how it works, even if it wasn't broken. You don't break rules just to be difficult. You do it because curiosity doesn't recognize authority. Your brain was wired to test the limits, not to be disrespectful, but to make sure the limits make sense. If something's inefficient, outdated, or just plain stupid, you can't unsee it. You start redesigning the system in your head before anyone else has finished complaining about it. Teachers called it defiance. Bosses call it non-compliance. History calls it innovation. Every breakthrough that's ever changed the world started with someone who asked the forbidden question. Why not? Because without people who questioned everything, we'd still be convinced the earth was flat, leeches were medicine, and fax machines were cutting-edge technology. You don't follow the crowd because your GPS is set to original thinking. You're not difficult. You're just running on a higher version of curiosity software. And if that means rewriting a few rules along the way, so be it. Progress has always been one big act of polite disobedience. The silent genius. You like people, just not all the time. After a few hours of conversation, your brain feels like it needs a factory reset. You're not antisocial. You're just mentally buffering. It's called social bandwidth, and yours runs out faster because you process everything. Tone, word choice, energy, body language. You're analyzing every signal in real time. That much input takes a toll. So when others are heading to the after party, you're heading for noise-canceling headphones and total silence. You don't hate small talk. You just hate that it's small. You want to skip to the good part. The real, meaningful, soul-level conversations that make people's eyes light up. That's where your brain wakes up again. So if you disappear after socializing or need alone time that lasts longer than expected, don't apologize for it. You're not being cold. You're just letting your mind cool down from overclock mode. Silence isn't your escape. It's your recharge station. The truth is that sharp wit isn't just for laughs. It's armor. A clever way to process a world that sometimes hits a little too hard, a little too deep. The empathic oddball. You've probably apologized to furniture, bumped into a chair and said, sorry. Felt guilty throwing out an old pair of socks or retiring your favorite coffee mug because it deserved better. That's not crazy. That's empathy overflowing its container. Psychologists call it anthropomorphism, giving human feelings to non-human things. But for you, it's more than that. You don't just project emotions, you feel them. It's like your empathy forgot to install an off switch. You sense tension before anyone speaks, and your mood shifts with the room like you're synced to invisible Wi-Fi. It can be exhausting, sure. You carry emotions like other people carry phones, constantly, everywhere, even when you don't need to. You absorb people's stress, their tone, their silence, and sometimes even their unspoken thoughts. It's a gift that feels like a curse on bad days. While others see the world in headlines, you see it in footnotes. You name your plants, comfort your car after a rough drive, and feel like your childhood stuffed animal still has feelings. It's not silly. It's symbolic. Because to you, everything matters. Every memory, every object, every connection, it all holds weight, meaning, story. So yeah, maybe you get attached to things. Maybe you feel too much, too fast, too deep. But that's not a weakness. That's emotional fluency most people never learn. It's the price of having a heart and a mind that both run in high definition. You don't just exist in the world. You experience it. Every feeling, every flicker, every heartbeat, in full resolution. The restless creator. You can't sit still. At least, not mentally. Your body's in a meeting, but your mind's designing a spaceship, rewriting movie endings, or wondering how many chickens it would take to lift a human with balloons. People call it distraction. Science calls it creative overflow. When your brain's too powerful for its surroundings, it starts inventing side quests, doodling, fidgeting, or zoning out into new ideas no one else can see yet. You don't get ideas at convenient times either. They show up in the shower, in traffic, halfway through trying to sleep, and they never knock first. Genius doesn't do schedules. It barges in like it owns the place. And those random deep dives into weird topics, that's not wasted time. That's mental curiosity on steroids. You're not procrastinating, you're preparing. Every useless fact, random obsession, and impulsive experiment is another spark your brain files away for later. You're not restless. You're just running a mind that refuses to sit quietly while the world catches up. It's messy, unpredictable, and a little exhausting. But that's how discovery happens. And if any of this felt a little too familiar, congratulations. You're not broken. You're just built differently. And if you've made it this far, your curiosity clearly runs deep. So you might as well stick around. Hit subscribe and join the rest of us beautifully strange minds trying to make sense of it all.